In the realm of luxury watchmaking, some names are celebrated for their visually striking dials, some for their exquisite casework, and others for their groundbreaking movements. In rare instances though, all of these attributes can be found in one brand, hence why I'm such an admirer of Grand Seiko. Time after time, they have shown their mastery of all of these qualities, each one equally important to the brand's acclaimed philosophy. And the subject of today's video is no exception, the SLGW003 Birch Bark, a 2024 release from the Evolution 9 collection. Beyond encapsulating the important tenets of the brand, it packages developments that haven't taken place in over 50 years from Grand Seiko, is constructed from a rarely chosen material, and has a caliber that is both mechanically impressive and a joy to engage with. One of the most commonly pointed out aspects of 1960s Grand Seiko was it being one of the few brands that ventured into the world of high beat calibers. 1968 marked the moment when Grand Seiko produced its first manually wound high beat, the caliber 4520, powering the legendary 45GS, laying the groundwork for what would come decades later with the 9SA family of calibers. Now fast forwarding to the early 2010s, Grand Seiko was at an inflection point, with its eyes being set on eventually expanding its reach globally outside of the borders of Japan. Its proprietary spring drive tech and romanticized dials connecting to the surrounding elements of nature were already at its back, offering support. However, developing a high-beat mechanical caliber optimized for efficiency and beauty was an uphill battle looming in the distance. Now, high beat movements have several benefits, including better stability against shocks, improved accuracy, as well as a cleaner sweep. Yet given the 10 beats per second of 5 Hz movements, the power supply can be drastically drained by comparison to slower rate calibers. Committed to the cause, Grand Seiko spent 9 years developing the 9SA5, eventually being released in 2020. The 9SA5 was groundbreaking not only for Grand Seiko, but for the industry as a whole, as it introduced one of the only new industrialized escapement concepts in the past century with the dual impulse escapement. So how exactly did Grand Seiko do this, and how does the escapement work? Now, unlike the lever escapement utilized in the vast majority of mechanical watches nowadays, the dual impulse escapement has 2 separate transfers of energy from the escapement wheel to the balance, one being direct and the other indirect. The 2-part energy transfer process has an indirect impulse when the balance swings, locking the escapement wheel with its modified Y-shaped pallet fork, and then directly when the roller pallet mounted atop the balance roller impacts the escapement wheel, proceeding to send direct energy to the balance wheel. A core element making this possible was employing the brand's in-house MEMS capabilities, aka micro-electro-mechanical systems, in order to skeletonize the escapement components at a microscopic level to improve efficiency 20% over the already impressive 9S8 series. These parts can be executed smoother than typical machine parts and helps increase hardness of the escapement wheel by 15%. This point, along with the adding of a small step to the escapement wheel teeth for retaining more lubrication on the component, will add to the longevity and counteract the other challenge that can plague high beat calibers, friction. The end result culminates with a 36,000 vibration per hour 5 Hz watch with best-in-class finishing and a novel escapement type that is optimized for efficiency, delivering an 80-hour power reserve off of dual barrels. This technology is what ultimately led me to become so fascinated with the white Birch SLGH005. So much so that I now own one and cherish it given its sentimental connection to wearing one when I got married last year, as well as being the choice of watch that I had on me during my trip to Grand Seiko's production studios this past year in Japan. And that trip included a visit to Studio Shizukuishi, the center for Grand Seiko's mechanical watch production. The obvious next step from the 9SA5 was to create a dual impulse equivalent with a manually wound caliber. Which brings us to the SLGW003. As appealing as the rest of this watch is, the movement is the star of the show in my opinion. The 9SA4 single-digit difference in name from its automatic counterpart might lead one to believe that these are essentially the same calibers apart from the omission of a rotor. However, that is far from the case. The 9SA4 had 40% of the base architecture redesigned from the 9SA5 and requires 15% fewer rotations to be fully wound by comparison. The caliber utilizes a free-sprung balance with an overcoil made specifically for the movement. In fact, Grand Seiko actually underwent 80,000 different simulations to come up with the ideal shape of the overcoil balance spring. The caliber is rated to have magnetic resistance to 4,800 amperes per meter, and the testing of the caliber is done over 17 days at 6 positions at 3 different temperatures to meet the Grand Seiko standard, hitting a mean daily rate between +5 to -3 seconds per day during these tests. The movement is finished to one of the highest degrees that you're going to come across for the price, with striped bridges made to resemble the Shizukuishi River, polished jewel sinks, screw heads, a tempered blue power reserve indicator hand, and anglage on the bridge edges. There's also one final detail that simply completes my love of this caliber. As a manual wound watch is wound, the mainspring, or springs in this case, will coil up, only to gradually uncoil as energy is distributed down the gear train. This process is given a unique twist with the 9SA4 with how the ratchet wheel interacts with the click. In ordinary circumstances, a click is on a fixated point as it interacts with the teeth of the ratchet wheel. In this case, the click is placed on a slide, designed to look like a wagtail, a bird native to Morioka, the largest city near Studio Shizukuishi in the Iwate Prefecture. As you wind, the wagtail click is engaged, moving upwards on its slide, and once it reaches the summit of its travel, it will peck and make an audible sound, creating one of the most enjoyable winds in watchmaking. I mean, come on, how awesome is this? With all this sorcery at play, it's a wonder that the 9SA4 is so slim, but they've done it, as it is just 4.15 millimeters thick for the caliber, which allows for the case to remain under 10 millimeters in height. The dimensions are phenomenal for modern dress watch standards, being 38.6 millimeters in diameter, 9.95 millimeters thick, and coming in with a lug-to-lug with my calipers at 44.7 millimeters. The watch will have no issue sliding underneath tighter dress cuffs and wears true to size, if not slightly smaller, thanks to the case material. It is safe to say that Grand Seiko are fans of utilizing titanium, with the brand having its own proprietary alloys with different benefits. In heritage models such as the Four Seasons and the SLGW003, known as the Snowflake, the brand uses high-intensity titanium, which is known for its corrosion resistance, lightness, and being hypoallergenic while also being able to be polished. With this SLGW003, it utilizes the rare Brilliant Hard titanium alloy, which has been used very infrequently by the brand, and is the opted for material arguably for the most impressive watch ever to come out of Japan in general, the Kodo, a piece that retails for over $350,000. Brilliant Hard titanium is 4 times harder than that of stainless steel, and unlike many other forms of titanium, it doesn't have those desaturated tones of gray, as once you polish it, it somehow looks closer to precious metals like platinum. In this instance, you have a mixing of polishing and brushing to the case, including an aggressive polish facet running the length of the case done through, of course, Zaratsu polishing. A box sapphire crystal lends a jewel-like touch above the dial and receives an anti-reflective inner coating. The rib sign crown is the key to that amazing winding action that we just previously discussed. Water resistance is listed as splash resistant, but being a dress watch, the SLGW003 is probably not going to be a great candidate for a day of whitewater rafting. A lug width of 20 millimeters definitely allows for plenty of leeway with strap experimentation, especially given the drilled lugs being on a dress watch here. This combines with a refined crocodile leather strap that tapers to 18 millimeters at the milled titanium dual button release deployant. The Birch inspiration is a reoccurring theme seen in several watches from GS, with the vertically lined SLGH005 and the SLGA009 being derived from the vantage point of looking into the birch tree forest just outside of Studio Shizukuishi. This Evolution 9 birch bark gets more into the details with horizontal texture, evoking the papery bark of a birch tree with silvery white coloration. The hand finishing on the multi-cut applied indices are done with a high mirror polish, each facet being independently cut using a drum tool, which requires an artisan to align each one of these cuts perfectly. The applied markers are more narrow in profile to other watches we've seen from Grand Seiko, falling in line with the elegance presented more broadly. Dial text consists of the Grand Seiko word mark below the applied logo at 12, and the high beat rate of 36,000 vibrations per hour and 80 hours above 6. The modified Dauphine style hands have facets that are sharply cut, and a heat blued second hand offers a punchy contrast from the serenity of the rest of the dial. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, Grand Seiko has this unique ability to do many things exceptionally well in-house. Even if we were going to isolate their movement technology, I would argue that there is not a single other brand in the industry that can compete with them on the level of them in this whole arena. They are among the best in quartz watch production. They have stellar in-house produced mechanical movements operating at 4 Hz. Spring drive probably doesn't need any further explanation. It's unlike any other movement on the planet, and they are one of the most celebrated names in high beats dating back to the 1960s. There's many aspects of Grand Seiko that I love, but it's their commitment to movement innovation that keeps me especially interested. The release of the 9SA series of calibers is probably one of the most undervalued innovations in recent years. Not only has it introduced a new escapement, but as a user, you are getting one of the most efficient 5 Hz calibers ever produced, hitting 80 hours of power reserve when most brands operating at 4 Hz don't even have those reserve numbers. The case of the SLGW003 continues this story of the 9S A series, with the seldom seen material type and movement that is beautiful in its looks and operation with its creatively constructed click on a slide. The problem with this combination is that you do end up having to spend more than other 9S A series watches to obtain it, while maybe not having the same level of versatility as other Evolution 9 models with their 100 meters of water resistance. Yet by nearly every metric, the SLGW003 is about as impressive of a dress watch that you will come across for its $11,000 price. But all right, guys, that is our video here today looking at the new SLGW003. I think you guys know I am a big champion of what I think is a pretty underrated aspect of Grand Seiko, their high beat movements in comparison to spring drive. Not to say that they're better in any way, I think they're both unique, but I think a lot of people just automatically think spring drive all the time when they think of Grand Seiko, and they don't really understand the full magnitude of what the 9S A series of calibers were bringing forth. And this is a pretty amazing execution when you factor in the click and how they were able to creatively position this within the movement itself. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell icon. What do you think of this watch as well? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Leave some comments down below. Also check out teddybaldestar.com. teddybaldestar.com is an authorized dealer for over 30 brands, including Grand Seiko. Every purchase from teddybaldestar.com comes with a full factory warranty, quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, and how we're able to keep producing content like this and being able to go on all these trips and travel and do these manufacturer tours is through selling watches. So if you are in the market for a watch, we'd absolutely love to have your business. Allows us to keep doing what we're doing here. We love what we do. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.